He back hops into my blind spot. I try to look at him only to be met with an instant attack that would have ended my run if it had hit. Only 50% of people have beaten Dark Souls 1's second half, so it's easy to imagine that not many people have actually completed the game, let alone at Soul of 1. Then you stack on restrictions like no pyromancy, no spells, no poise, and it gets a little bit difficult to imagine the idea of beating the game in 2 hours with all of those in mind. I'm sure a fucking Dark Souls veteran could do it like a pro speedrunner, but I am not one of those. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. I killed a silent demon and then I got the fucking homeward bones. That's basically it. I skipped all that fluff because we're not here to waste time. We're actually here to give back shots to Gwyn. What? I robbed this old man at gunpoint and ordered him to give me the reinforced club. And no, he didn't call me broke after a weapon and shield basically depleted my money to 0. After that, I went to get the gold pine resin. So, the thing about playing at Soul Level 1 is that you basically are playing the whole game at base vitality, and you saw that hollow nearly one-shot me at the very start, so this is gonna be kinda rough. In all fairness though, the only reason I even got hit there was because I was trying to go against my route that I had made, because it didn't account for the Twinkling Titanite up here that I just remembered was up there. Speaking of routing, my route is pretty weird because instead of fighting Taurus Demon, I have to go through this door and risk getting killed by Havel, but thankfully I make it through without any casualties. And then you have to walk a little bit and get this grass crow shield after dropping. You can just run past the Black Knight Halberd, he'll chase you a little bit, but it won't be a major problem. Now, in my opinion, the grass crow shield is a bit of a godsend. It buffs your stamina recovery speed, which basically translates to higher DPS since you can attack more frequently. And you also get benefits like, well, your stamina recovering faster, which means you can run more, which directly correlates to being faster in a speed run. Next are the drakes that are totally not dragons. You just run through them like this and then you get RTSR for free. Now go back up that elevator, run past the Black Knight Halberd again, but this time he'll be on ass. He'll chase you the whole way. Next I farmed these guys for a purple moss clump. You don't need to do this, but I like to do it for a more easy RTSR setup for Quelaag. Next we met up with Andre, and wow, this really reminds me of Andre's Vacation. So next, I beat this guy up. He gives you a Titanite shard. I recommend doing so. Then I murderized this guy to death. Next was the gargoyles, and honestly the results will shock you because they certainly did to me. So I dodged the initial attack, and then I gave him a little smack on the tail. Then the second one comes in and just starts bodying me. Completely ruthless destruction. Unbelievable. Then I noticed the Guz, the Gwendolyn Huz, was watching, then I locked in. I kill his best friend, and then I imagine the first gargoyle gets a little rage boost. Then it doesn't matter, because I just kill him too. So, since I'm using the Master Key route, the walk to Blighttown is rather uneventful, or rather the walk to Quelaag. You're basically just dropping down a whole bunch. Now, if you want to see someone drop it down a whole lot, you're gonna have to find a different type of video, because we're skipping that. So for Blighttown Swamp, you can either repeatedly toggle through it or you can spam roll through it. I like to toggle through it though. Now, thanks to the fact we got the purple moss clump earlier, we can just use it once we're in RTSR range from the poison, and now we have like basically double damage against Quelaag. The only problem with fighting Quelaag at this HP is that she can hit you with her hops, and enough hops over time can definitely kill you, so your solution is just to attack less basically. After that, we can now deal with Sentence Fortress. If you think we've been breezing through the game so far, the turning point will be coming soon. But for now, we just run through these saws. Now, go up these stairs, go into the room. I missed an opportunity by not plunging attacking this guy. After resting at the Sentence Fortress bonfire, I would only realize later that I had made a grave mistake that would cost me around 5 minutes of time. We'll cross that road when we get to it though. For now, we're setting up RTSR and preparing to fight Iron Golem. The obvious downside about RTSR is that if we get hit once, we just lose. There's basically no margin for error. But thankfully, Iron Golem is simplistic enough for this to not be a major problem. With the combination of RTSR and Gold Pine Resin, he's taking massive damage per swing from a +5 reinforced club at Soul Level 1. Needless to say, we took him down without much problem, and then we went to Anor Londo. With these two jumps in mind, I accidentally set up RTSR. Had to heal a little bit here because I'm definitely not doing this section without heals. And it's not because this rafter segment is actually extremely difficult or anything. I just threw caution to the wind and decided to not kill any of the enemies and just fucking bolted for it. Because yes, this is a speed run. Speed is of the essence here. I can't waste time just killing every enemy I see. I just gotta go. I've been backstabbed in this exact spot before, but it seems the RNG gods were smiling down upon me because I managed to do this segment perfectly with no hiccups. Jump down here. The jump allows him to be staggered there so he doesn't try to attack you too soon. And then you run down here while looking at him in case he decides to throw a lightning bolt at you. This is a part of the game where I'd say sound cues and reaction are pretty important. Look at that guy almost got me. An unfortunate part about Soul Level 1 is that you have to kill this guy for the blacksmith giant hammer. But forget that shit because this guy beat the dog shit out of me. Completely got rid of that idea. He lost a good 3 minutes off of that. He even killed me again, wasting a whopping 11 minutes. Safe to say I underestimated him, but this time he was not going to kill me again. This time I had a good plan. Wait for him to attack first instead of being a greedy little fuck. Oh, 14 minutes wasted. Though the difference about that death wasn't that my strategy was bad. I just made a mechanical error and mistimed a roll. This time we expand upon the strategy with just the idea of timing the rolls correctly. And this was the result. The Re-Club can bleed its opponents, so when he fell onto the floor after his big attack, it was wraps for him. Using the weapon smith box that I bought from Andre previously, I managed to upgrade the blacksmith giant hammer to +5. Ornstein starts off with a glitched charge. A very hard attack to read, but I read it nonetheless. He back hops into my blind spot. I try to look at him only to be met with an instant attack that would have ended my run if it had hit. Considering there was a 14-minute time loss prior, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would have been the end. Smo takes a page from Ornstein's playbook and jumps into my blind spot as well. Now to deal with Ornstein in front of me and Smo behind me. Thankfully, I looked behind myself just in time to catch Smo doing a jump slam attack. But those were two close calls in a very close vicinity of each other. And this fight never lets up. As some kind of sick joke, these two decide to attack simultaneously, severely limiting my options to roll since Smo has the entire right side covered. With the help of luck and skill, we managed to dodge the simultaneous attack. Thanks to the RTSR, their HP chipped down at an enormous rate. Before I could even blink, I was already facing down P2 Smo, but he did an attack with a copious amount of Ven lag, letting me get massive hits on him before he could react. Eventually he did a butt slam and had to retreat momentarily, but this only cemented his death in stone, letting me get the last 2 hits in. We're skipping over the Guinevere scene so that the Gooners can't have any relief, but you'll notice that the 2-hour save is only at 41 minutes so far, and we're approaching the second half of the game, so we got this in the bag, right? Well, you'll see that the second half of the game is much longer than the first half. The plan was simple. We were doing 4 Kings first, which required us to kill Sif first, which also requires the Crest of Artorias, so we bought that from Andre. On the way to Sif, I faced 0 hurdles, so let's just skip to the fight itself. He started off with an immediate running slash. Something odd about Sif is that the fight is surprisingly fast paced. Like, when you fight them for the first time, it's almost a reaction check. Though despite this, Sif is more squishy than a teddy bear. So with that, he went down in a very short amount of time. With the Covenant of Artorias, we can beeline it straight to New Londo. This is one of the harder areas to navigate at Soul Level 1, so I have a very specific strategy to get through this. If you've been paying attention to the footage, you'll notice I have not been taking a direct route to the key so far. Instead, I drop down there, after running around the whole time, and then go up the ladder. This makes the ghost reaction slightly slower, which allows me to get the key very easily. Also, I'd like to note, as a side note, I was listening to Lil Wayne's new Carter album, and Jesus Christ, that shit was ass. For 4 Kings, I decided to not swap the Ring of Favor out for RTSR, and instead just play without RTSR on the extra damage because I thought it wouldn't really matter much. My theory proved mostly true, as when I would kill a 4 King, it would take a while for the next one to spawn, so there's just time that I can't really save by having extra damage. So not putting on RTSR was indeed the right play. I'm gonna express how annoying I find magic just there, because it'll just start floating around you and then just randomly decide to book it straight for you at complete random. But besides that, there wasn't really much to talk about. 4 Kings went down pretty easily. Next up was Duke's Archives, and at this stage of the run, the travel times between areas was proving to be quite long. It was definitely causing major time losses as time went on. I had a simple strategy for this boar. Just bait his first attack and then run past him, though the only problem is that we'll have to deal with 2 of his attacks. I then sneaked past the second one, and I had a very close call there, and then an even closer call in the elevator. Like, that motherfucker was right there. He might have actually done me like I did the firstborn under Parish.
What?
Now this running section actually used to fuck me up back in the day, but I had just learned to run past all the enemies, and suddenly all my problems were solved. This is the closest thing you can call a fight in this area, and this is more like a confrontation. If this game was better designed, this segment right here could be a much harder segment, because if you try to run past this guy, then the crystal lizard in your way could just block your path. But for one, the crystal lizard doesn't have enough health to do that, and the guy behind you is really slow and passive. Here I avoid being cursed by just wearing armor and then waiting for the crystals that spike you upwards instead of the crystals that just do slow damage. I tried to run past these guys, but they were not having it. They trapped me in the corner and just killed me. So that's around 2 minutes wasted on this segment, which is 16 minutes wasted so far. On my second attempt, I made it past them, but let myself get killed by the snakes since it was easier and faster to just get killed by them, since it would just make me respawn back at the bonfire. Here I killed the channeler by whiffing the first attack and then hitting him with a stronger second attack and one-shotting him. However, that was for nothing since this hollow one-shotted me with a headshot. The crazy part being is that he wasn't even buffed since I took out the channeler earlier. So that's 18 minutes wasted now. But now, at least I can make my way through the crystal cave. To start out the fight with Seif, I broke his crystal and then quit out immediately. After loading back in, the extras were not in the arena with me and I have more space to myself. I won't even dramatize this, Seif got fucking cooked. It's safe to say that the harder part of this run will be in this game's second half. The second half of the second half. For whatever reason, I stole the clothes of Caesar's discharge, his dead sister's clothes, and from a guy who is in constant physical and mental pain. And then I killed him for it. Running past the lazy Capra Demon copy and paste, we made our way to Fire Sage Demon. This is one of those bosses that can just straight up one-shot me, especially if I'm in instability frames, which are frames where your character can take 1.4x extra damage, which is basically 40% extra damage. To my knowledge, these occur at the end of a roll and while running, because Miyazaki is fucking evil and this feature never made it past DS1 or Bloodborne. But this doesn't change the fact that Fire Sage Demon is a repaste of a repaste of a repaste, and so I know his moveset like the back of my hand. He went down to 0 difficulty. Major time losses incoming, by the way. The Centipede Demon just kind of beats you up. Like, he just slapped the shit out of me here. I even get a little bit greedy, and that was the end of my story.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did.
For DS1 standards, however, this is a very short run back. We only lost 1 minute of time off of that death. However, on the next attempt, I got grabbed, which made me quit out the game. I had fought Centipede Demon for about a minute at that point, so now we're at 20 minutes of time loss overall. However, this attempt would be different. I immediately cut off his arm, meaning any attempts to knock me into the lava would just not work. I dismantled him shortly after that. Bed of Chaos time. On my last attempt for this challenge, this boss single-handedly ended my run, putting me 30 minutes over the time requirement. However, no need to worry about that. I wasn't even going to get past that Pyromancer before Bed of Chaos anyway. That's a good 2 minutes of time loss. However, that didn't break my spirit. I immediately beeline it for the second orb on the left. I quit out and load back in to go for the first orb on the right. Unfortunately, this involves baiting out attacks while running in circles to make sure I don't get hit by the red thing. But once that is done, just run to this tree and you now have a good safe spot for a while. Once they do an attack with a lot of end lag, just run for this orb and break it. Now the fight is mostly done. This was the hard part. Now quit out and load back in again, bait an attack, but don't copy the part where you die on the easy landing and waste 3 minutes of time. I really wouldn't recommend the part where you do this either, but for real, the falls in Bed of Chaos kill you so fast that you can't even quit out before you die. Despite the practice I've done in preparation of Bed of Chaos, I fear that if we die again, this run will be out of my hands. So in that case, just don't die again to Bed of Chaos. Just do everything correctly and stay patient and not die in dumb ways like I did before. Slight time loss by punching this tree, you should just roll through all of them like I'm doing in this clip. And at last, the moment we've been waiting for. Bed of Chaos finally goes down, but we're not out of the woods yet. Do you remember when I said we had a 5-minute time loss earlier in the run? So the problem with Nito at soul level 1 is that we need both concealment rings to realistically take him down, which are Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring and Fog Ring. You need to do something in Sen's Fortress to get Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring, which I did not do while I was here, which gave us a 5-minute time loss by having to run through the entire area again. Plus the cost of teleporting in and out of Sen's Fortress adding on to that, totaling up to around 5 minutes as my estimation. But down to the Catacombs we go. We are not here to kill Nito just yet, just to kill Pinwheel and then get the Skull Lantern, which we can trade for the Fog Ring. It's not particularly safe to run through the skeletons like this. The odds of death are somewhat high, but I was feeling a little bit rushed due to the many deaths to Bed of Chaos. But I used the Catacomb skip to skip through 80% of the area, as the name would suggest. And now it was time for Pinwheel, the hardest boss of the run. And he's already dead. Yeah, so I can't even joke about Pinwheel. This boss is so fucking undertuned for where he's placed in the story. But more important than that, I fall randomly in the Tomb of Giants and lose 4 minutes of time. We were now at a 29 overall minute time loss, a pretty shady place to be at. If we finish this run, we'll be cutting it very close. But since I just got the Skull Lantern, we traveled to Northern Undead Asylum and I have to scrap with the Torch Hollows, and I killed them. What, did I subvert your expectations? Although we have 2 concealment rings, with the loss of Skull Lantern, we'll have to navigate Tomb of the Giants in complete darkness. I think I'll just let this clip play out. That went surprisingly well. In preparation of Nito, I turned up my game volume so that I can hear the scream attack properly. Though when I drop in, he doesn't actually use it, and he doesn't use it for the rest of the battle, so I guess no showing off the cool dodge I had. Things get a little suspect when I actually take a hit to Nito with no skeletons up. This might actually be the most embarrassing thing to happen to me ever, although he goes down all the same. And now, it's time for Gwyn. I'm a little bit scared of doing this because I actually had a potential all bosses deathless run planned out, and I did it up to Gwyn, and then I died to Gwyn due to nerves. So I'm not impossible to losing here, just because he's simplistic. So the idea was to set up Archiasar before I fight Gwyn. With over 29 minutes of time loss accrued, more than 2 deaths I'd say would completely end the run. I made it to Gwyn, but what I didn't know was that resting at the bonfire to put the Lord Souls in completely restored my HP, cancelling out the Archiasar effect. I only noticed when I got to the fog wall. I tried to use the Black Knight Halberd Knight to reset my HP back to Archiasar range, but what I didn't factor in was that quitting out and loading back in doesn't reset the enemy's position if they're Black Knights, it only pushes them away. So now I couldn't even find him. I'd have to fight Gwyn with 0 ways to increase my damage. parry loop is when we travel a long distance from Gwyn to bait out one of his long range attacks, and then we hit him twice with a hammer weapon like giant blacksmith hammer. This will stagger him and allow us a third hit, and then we have to immediately retreat afterwards. For a while we did good, but I whiffed one of the R1s, and that was the downfall. This completely screwed up the timing for the next parry, and he even flew past me and hit me on the other side. A 4-minute time loss this late was devastating, but I wasn't ready to give up yet. I didn't even look at the time again. I just ran next, this time equipping Artisaur properly. Red Tearstone Ring was a major step up in damage. I was raking through him pretty quickly, but it seemed as if one hit away from defeat, he randomly disobeyed his script. Expecting a fast slash, I rolled way too early. This horizontal would hit me and kill the run. At this point I accepted defeat and was already planning to just start a new run. This had to have been luck bestowed upon me by the RNG gods themselves. Using this last chance, I managed to kill Gwyn. Anyway, videos every week at Saturday, 8 PM Eastern Time. Keep expecting more challenge content, especially for Souls games and games like Souls games. The final time at the end was 1:52, 8 minutes off of failing the run. Like and subscribe, and I'm out.